The chapter begins with the announcer, Sayaka, stating that 8 elites from different promotions have gathered here today, and now only 2 remain. A hologram appears, showcasing both Agito and Gaolang, the last fighters standing in the tournament. Sayaka continues by taking the audience back 5 years to the Kengan Annihilation Tournament held on Ganryo Island. During that event, Agito and Gaolang faced each other in the second round, with Agito emerging victorious. Gaolang's right fist was injured in that match, an injury some said could be career-ending. But now, he has returned stronger than ever. Carlos cheers for Gaolang, calling him the hope of all boxers, while Hatsumi-san admits that Gaolang is strong but believes Agito will claim victory. Yamashita shares his thoughts about Agito, describing him as an all-rounder capable of handling any situation. In that sense, he thinks a specialist like Gaolang might stand a better chance than another all-rounder, but he isn't entirely sure, which surprises Akiyama. Sayaka announces Kanoh's arrival and states that the rematch of destiny is drawing closer by the second. She highlights his previous title as the Emperor of the Kengan matches, acknowledging that his path has been far from smooth. Kanoh suffered a defeat at the hands of Kuroki Gensai in the Kengan Annihilation Tournament semifinals, and a second loss to Arashiyama Jirota. Now, he seeks to reclaim his throne, as the audience chants his former title, Fong. Lu is puzzled by the audience chanting Fong, since it is no longer Kanoh's title. Tokuno finds this observation interesting as he jots down notes for his novel. He explains that the only other Fong of Matsudo, past or present, who was called Fong during their tenure was Mr. Amori, Kanoh's predecessor, and the fourth Fong of Matsudo. Tokuno admits he doesn't know who the earlier Fangs were, emphasizing how impactful Kanoh's time as Fong was, enough for many spectators to still refer to him by that title. After hearing Tokuno's explanation, Lu asks if he's still working on his novel. Tokuno laughs and enthusiastically replies that he just got an idea for a masterpiece, which he plans to call The Brain's Nightmare. Returning to the main event, Kanoh and Gaolang are now staring each other down, further heightening the tension. As the finals are about to begin, Xia Yan wonders what is taking Shen Wulong so long. However, he is glad he came to witness the fight, noting that those who have learned about the connector are already overcoming their limitations. He muses that those who fought the Transcenders are scaling that same wall, and assumes the ones the connector has defeated are scaling the wall, as are those personally coached by the connector. As the audience continues chanting, Xia grows frustrated, questioning why the connector is giving the enemy these free power-ups. Suddenly, Rama pats Xia on the shoulder, telling him to relax and suggesting they watch the match together. He addresses Xia as the head of the worm. The Mommy-Dami overseeing the match, Shina Elisa, announces herself, stating that she expects a fair fight from both competitors. She asks the fighters if they are ready, and both respond affirmatively, prompting her to start the match. Kanoh makes the first move, throwing a punch at Gaolang, who skillfully twirls his head to reduce the impact. Gaolang counters with a strike aimed at Kanoh's chin, but Kanoh uses his formless style to evade the attack. Gaolang, however, is relentless, throwing a barrage of blows in rapid succession, forcing Kanoh to back away. Suddenly, Kanoh charges at Gaolang, striking his abdomen and causing him to lose balance, landing the first hit of the match. At this time, Kanoh's weight is over 132 kilograms, and he stands at 201 centimeters, while Gaolang weighs 119 kilograms and stands at 187 centimeters. The narrator explains that a difference in weight class often translates to a difference in strength, but that's not always the case, as Gaolang quickly returns the favor, landing a clean punch to Kanoh's face. Sayaka notices that Gaolang's punch resembles a karate strike more than a traditional boxing move. She asks Jerry for his opinion, and he agrees, remarking that it's surprising and indicative of Gaolang's evolution. He adds that Kanoh has grown significantly over his last 2 matches, but Gaolang is no pushover either. Gaolang closes the distance on Kanoh, landing another strike followed by an elbow. However, Kanoh counters with a front kick to Gaolang's abdomen, halting his momentum. The narrator comments on Gaolang's fighting style, stating that it can no longer be classified as purely boxing or Muay Thai, it's best described as Gaolang's all-rounder striking technique. Yamashita watches the match in shock, unable to determine which fighter holds the upper hand. Kanoh takes a low stance as Gaolang patiently awaits his next move. Kanoh rushes toward Gaolang for a takedown, but Gaolang counters with a knee to Kanoh's face. Kanoh, using his formless style, attempts to slip through and catch Gaolang off guard but ends up receiving another punch to the face. Undeterred, Kanoh slithers away and attempts to grab Gaolang's legs, only for Gaolang to evade him effortlessly. Kanoh quickly shifts his focus to Gaolang, only to see a kick heading his way, which he narrowly avoids. Yamashita, visibly scared, admits that this match is terrifying to watch, unsure of what kind of fight he is witnessing. Akiyama, however, is confused, asking Yamashita if Gaolang doesn't clearly have the upper hand. Yamashita responds, explaining that while it appears Gaolang is on the offensive, Kanoh's formless style is deflecting most of the blows. However, he warns that one mistake could result in catastrophic damage, as Kanoh is taking an unimaginable risk to grapple Gaolang. Gaolang strikes again, but Kanoh manages to evade using his formless style. Despite appearing unscathed, blood begins to trickle from Kanoh's nose, shocking both Sayaka and Jerry. Kanoh realizes that while he diverted most of Gaolang's blows, Gaolang's right hand is far stronger than before. Interestingly, Gaolang's right hand was shattered in their previous battle, but he revived it with maddening training. Now, Kanoh is facing it again, even more powerful than before. The narrator reflects, calling it either a resurgence or karmic retribution. Born into extreme poverty in a remote village, Gaolang was orphaned at a young age and left to care for his siblings. His only options were to kill and steal or to fight and win. Muay Thai became his means of survival, fighting as many as 4 times a week for meager prize money. He defeated every opponent who stood in his way, because he knew he had to keep winning in order to survive. During that time, Gaolang admitted he would have died a nameless warrior if a certain man hadn't saved him. The scene shifts back to the fight, where Agito takes a hard blow to the face, followed by Gaolang's devastating God Glow punch. To everyone's surprise, Agito sacrifices his left arm to block the punch, shocking Gaolang. Seizing the opportunity, Agito launches a dragon shot. Unfortunately for Agito, his dragon shot misfires as Gaolang shifts his body to avoid the blow and counters with a powerful right hook. Agito stumbles back, reeling from the impact, while Gaolang takes a moment to catch his breath. Yamashita, watching intently, is shocked to realize that Gaolang has managed to mimic Kanoh's formless style in this critical moment. Both fighters, battered and exhausted, try to regain their composure after the intense exchange. The narrator explains that with the exhaustion of his bout with Arashiyama, combined with his imperfect formless style, Gaolang had taken considerable damage. Meanwhile, Kanoh was suffering from the damage from his bout with Roland Donner, and his left forearm was shattered. Despite this, neither of them shows any sign of backing down. A flashback reveals Gaolang's past as a young boy, approached by a man who praised his performance in a fight. The man told him he deserved better than to live in squalor and offered him an opportunity to rise above it. Introducing himself as part of Rama Xi's court, the man extended a hand to Gaolang, offering him a chance to serve as a protector. Gaolang reflects that, had His Majesty's predecessor not reached out to him, he would have rotted away in poverty. After the predecessor's passing, Gaolang continued to serve under Rama XII, declaring himself as His Majesty's sword, a duty he values above his identity as a fighter. As the fight resumes, Agito and Gaolang charge at each other with unwavering determination. Gaolang, his eyes burning with resolve, declares once more that he is His Majesty's sword and will never break again. The two fighters simultaneously launch their elbows into each other's heads, the impact reverberating through the arena. However, Gaolang, with a fierce look of defiance, shrugs off the pain, prompting Agito to ask if the damage means nothing to him. Suddenly, Gaolang lands a devastating uppercut, staggering Agito. Carlos, observing the fight, notes that Gaolang deliberately leaped into Agito's range. He also points out that Agito's injured forearm is limiting his ability to block effectively, forcing him to avoid fighting within punching range. Agito had been waiting to counter within elbow range, but Gaolang saw through his plan and took the initiative with some hard-hitting infighting. Both fighters continue to trade an unrelenting barrage of blows, each narrowly missing their opponent's vitals. Yamashita observes that Agito might still have a chance if he can land another dragon shot at this range, but the speed of the exchanges makes it nearly impossible to execute. Gaolang lands yet another punch to Agito's face, and the narrator explains that at this point, dodging is no longer an option for either fighter. They can only barely avoid taking critical hits. Suddenly, Gaolang lands another devastating uppercut, rattling Agito's brain and breaking the stalemate. The Thai god of war, the avatar of Garuda, and the sword of Rama, pierces through Kanoh Agito, solidifying his dominance in this grueling battle. We then transition into a flashback near the Russia-Mongolia border. The setting resembles a dilapidated sewer, where a group of children take refuge. The narrator of this memory recalls that his earliest moments were of living in these sewers. Raised by a gang of street children, they all seem to share a similar origin, abandoned and left to survive by any means necessary. Questions like "Who am I?" or "Why am I here?" were luxuries he could not afford to ponder. One by one, his friends succumbed to the bitter cold and starvation. In this life, survival was the only priority. He describes himself as nothing short of a beast. That was his existence until one fateful day when someone offered them shelter. As much as he hates to admit it, that man was the one who gave him his first taste of humanity. This man's name was Takita Nico. The gang was taken into Nico's custody and trained in the Nico style. Despite being part of the illicit organization known as the Worm, Nico treated him like a human for the first time in his life, almost like a father. But this sense of humanity was shattered when Agito learned Nico's true intentions. Nico ordered the gang to kill each other until only one remained, the Gu ritual. This ritual stripped the boy of what little humanity he had left. As history tells us, the sole survivor of the Gu ritual was Kanoh Agito, who now admits he should have perished there. Agito questions why he was the only one left alive and why he continues to endure. Back in the present, after landing a blow to Agito's abdomen, Gaolang follows up with a devastating elbow strike to his face. However, before the elbow connects, Agito counters by punching Gaolang's elbow, severely injuring it. Undeterred, Gaolang strikes with his other elbow, only for Agito to repeat his counter, inflicting the same damage. Yet Agito himself sustains heavy injuries to his forehead from the exchange. Yamashita, watching intently, notices that Agito deliberately took the blow to his forehead, sacrificing himself to disable both of Gaolang's arms. Xiaoyan predicts the match is over, believing Gaolang is finished without his arms. However, Rama playfully squeezes Xia's mouth and tells him not to underestimate his sword, assuring him that Gaolang's fighting spirit has not been extinguished just yet. Due to the heavy damage he has sustained, Kanoh's vision begins to blur. Yamashita comments on the state of the fight, acknowledging that while Kanoh has effectively disabled Gaolang's arms, the toll on his own body is significant. He notes that Kanoh endured one blow to the body and two to the head, but he's surprised that he's still standing. Meanwhile, Gaolang, deep in thought, calls Agito a great warrior. Grateful for the challenge, he sees Agito as a wall to overcome. Driven by his will to scale this wall, he rushes forward once more, intent on finishing the fight. Yamashita is stunned that Gaolang can still move his arm, while Akiyama observes that Gaolang has shifted his fighting strategy to avoid using elbow strikes. Gaolang launches a final god glow punch, but Agito ducks under it and counters with a dragon shot. Gaolang notices this in time and counters with a knee. Both attacks land simultaneously, halting both fighters completely. The arena falls silent, everyone holding their breath, waiting to see who will fall first. After a tense moment, Gaolang drops to his knees, apologizing to His Majesty for his defeat. The announcer declares Agito the winner of the match. Yamashita provides a brief analysis of the final moments. He explains that Gaolang's punch lacked its usual speed, which was intentional. It was a bluff meant to bait Agito into avoiding it, allowing Gaolang to follow up with a decisive right knee. However, Agito countered with a dragon shot. Both fighters made optimal moves, turning the final exchange into a razor-close battle of skill and willpower. Xia admits that he would have done the same if he were Gaolang and praises him for his efforts. He acknowledges that Gaolang managed to force an opponent of Kanoh's caliber to play by his rules, a feat worthy of respect. Xia then apologizes to Kanoh for his earlier contempt, recognizing the strength and skill Kanoh displayed. Rama congratulates Gaolang on his performance, stating that they have borne witness to his strength and determination. Sayaka, in her lively tone, announces that while the result is disappointing for Gaolang, his rematch against Agito was not without merit. She adds that everyone knows Gaolang won't give up and that fans eagerly anticipate his return. Finally, she declares that a new champion of Japanese martial arts has been crowned, Kanoh Agito. In the next scene, Oma receives the results of the match from Akiyama and thanks her for the update. He then shares the news with Kuroki Gensai and Shin Wulong. Upon hearing the outcome, Kuroki remarks that the result was fitting, considering Kanoh's talents, while Shin barely remembers who Agito is. Kuroki shifts the focus, announcing that the moon bear skewers he had coated in miso and grilled are ready. Shin's face lights up with delight as he observes the skewers before taking a bite. He praises the meal, noting how the miso Kuroki used enhanced the flavor. Oma, impressed, asks Kuroki if the miso was handmade, and jokes that he could become a professional chef. Kuroki humbly responds, saying that it's a simple dish anyone can prepare. Oma wonders aloud if they should save some for Lijito and the falcon, but Kuroki tells him they've ventured deeper into the forest for training and likely won't be back anytime soon. He suggests they enjoy the meal without waiting. Shin continues to savor his food, wishing he had some rice to complement it. Luckily for him, Kuroki has prepared rice balls and sake, which Shin gratefully accepts. As Shin examines the sake bottle, he comments on its simple yet elegant design. Kuroki reveals that it's an ancient bison ware piece and offers it to Shin as a gift. Oma observes Shin closely, describing him as a friendly old man by the way he sits. Despite knowing that he must one day face Shin in battle, Oma admits to himself that he cannot bring himself to hate the man. Thank you for watching. If you don't mind, hit that subscribe button so I can finally get to 500 subs. That's all for today. Thank you for your time.